Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about how can we read text using stylistic methods. So one of the ways to read text is using the schema theory. And the idea behind the schema's theory is that all the action we witness in our or we experience in our world are stored in our lexicon. So let's say, for example, if you have the experience to go a restaurant, so in this case, you got the experience of a restaurant. When you read a situation where in a restaurant is mentioned, this kind of schema is activated. So it is a complex chunk of information related to an event. This is known as a schema. Of course, this is not the only term that's used to describe this kind of information chunk. We have script, we have frame, and also we have structure. All of them are used mental ones to describe this kind of event. So in this case, how can we use this schema in analyzing text from a stylistic point of view? First of all, you need to ask yourself, what is a schema and what is a script? And is it static? Is it dynamic? So let's say I have the script of a restaurant. Does this mean it's only one fixed script that occurs all across all the different scripts? Or it can be refreshed and it can be widened, and we can add a more kind of chunk of information, more detail to it to make it a little bit absorbing other kind of information related to that. So let's say, for example, I went to a restaurant and after eating, I started to dance. In this case, your idea of the restaurant is widened in order to incorporate these two actions that happen in the same place. So it could be a restaurant plus a club in the same place, or it could be a new kind of restaurant wherein after dancing, it's a kind of, again, helping your body to digest the food you just ate. And by doing some physical movement, this is a way of saying what do you mean by dancing. Another way of looking at this is to activate and bring up all the past experience related to the idea of eating out, especially at restaurants. So in this case, we could say that scripts are quite dynamic because we can modify them, we can adjust them. There is a kind of thing that is known as tuning these scripts. In this case, we accept to widen and extend the kind of script that we already have to contain new information that maybe we are aware of or maybe we are not. This takes us to the second point, which is should we get scripts from experience only? And the answer is categorically no. Why? Because we can get new scripts from reading, let's say, for example, or from watching a movie. So I haven't been to prison, hopefully, and the cross finger, no, yet. So in this case, my script of the idea of prison is totally taken from watching some kind of a mystery or some detective movies, interrogation, and all of this stuff, CIA, FBI stuff, or from reading detective novels. And in this case, I know exactly what kind of questions are there, what kind of answers. How can you sound or present yourself, come out just as smart as you might want to be? In this case, this is my idea. So not all the scripts you already have come from experience. You don't have to experience everything in your life, but you get your mental lexicon, getting all the chunks of information stored through reading, maybe even through sharing some information, or someone wants to share some information with you. So in this case, it's a kind source of in extending your kind of chunk of information you already have about this event, or through, let's say, for example, watching something or chatting with friends, or even through reading. So if you are reading about a very far land that they usually do not, let's say, do not drink tea. And after, let's say, after drinking, after kind of having their meals, they start running. So in this case, you expand your kind of chunks about how things happen based on this. So some people would do that, some people would do that, and some people would do that. But the idea of script is usually attacked by people who are saying if we have this separate kind of chunks of information, why some people have some slips up. Let's say, for example, a very young kid at daycare or even uh, at elementary school usually mixes up his teacher for his mom. So instead of saying, hey, teacher, he says, hey, mom, why this happens. First of all, we can also use the idea of a script to validate this and to have some kind of conclusion to come out as a valid one. So, like for example, when the kid says, hi, mom, it means there is some kind of connection between what the teacher does and what this kid's mom does every day. Let's say before going to bed, the kid's mom used to read for him. So in this case, whenever the teacher reads, this idea of common ground between the mom and the teacher is activated. The idea of mom versus teacher is there. So in this case, we do not have, let's say, separate chunks, separate funds of information totally categorically discrete from one another, but they are overlapping. You see the point here? So in this case, whatever the action you are involved in, all the related information will be, let's say, on the fly on alert. In this case, maybe you will have this slip up based on this common ground, the overlapping space between both of them. So in order to have a script activated, some people suggested four different precondition. First of all, we have the header, precondition header, which is the necessary things that we need for the script to be activated. We have instrumental heads, which are related to the kind of thing you are involved in. We have the adaptive things, and also we have all of the headers related to the rules and action involved in the script. One more thing that has to do with script is the idea of tops and mops. And tops has to do with thematic organization points, and mops has to do with memory organization points also. So in this case, let's say in our mind, we have memory, and this memory is organized in a certain way. And also we have themes. So let's say all the themes that has to do with reading, the mom, the teacher, the professor at school, in college, all of these things, once we have the reading part, all the associated scripts are activated. In this case, we could have some slips up because we have something in common, which makes sense and which can account for why do we have these slips up. So that's all I have about schema theory and also the idea of scripts and the idea of frames. One more thing that has to do with scripts and the kind of frames and structure we already have about scripts is that frames usually is used to visualize. So whenever we have visualization, this is a kind of frame. Whenever we have script, which is a complete event or a chunks, a complex chunks of information, this would be script, and also we can use all of them interchangeably. I hope that makes sense because this is a very important topic, especially in doing the stylistic analysis as well as in teaching language. Thank you and see you in the next video. Bye.